Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tendo Talks podcast number 5. This week we have our lovely guest, Louise LCX, all the way from the other side of the wall in Scotland. How are you doing today, Louise?
I'm good. How are you getting on?
I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to talk to you. I feel like I've been in your stream quite a bit and you've said hello and stuff, but it'd be nice to actually have a proper talk with you. So, Louise, how long have you been streaming for?
I have been streaming for just about 10 months now.
Just about
I'm
10
extremely
months.
new. Yeah.
And
10 months.
am I right in assuming from what I've seen that you specialize in retro gaming and specifically old Sega games?
Yeah. So retro is my go-to. It didn't actually start out that way when I was just like, right, I'm going to be a retro streamer. It's just kind of fell into that because that is literally mostly what I play. And I just thought I'm just going to like stick to that. And everyone's kind of enjoyed me playing those games. So it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah. So what was the first game you ever remember playing as a wee bairn?
Oh my gosh. First game I ever remember playing, I think it was Sonic on the Master System.
Right.
Yeah, Sonic in the Master System was the first. I don't know if it was the first game I ever played, but it was the first game that left an impact on me when I played it because I got so upset that I couldn't pass it.
Games are hard.
It was
when
so
you're that
hard,
age.
and I must have been like a toddler. Do you know what I mean? I must have been really, really small, and I seen my brothers play it, and then when I was going to play it, I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't grasp it, and I kept dying. One of the bosses, and I remember screaming and crying. I got so upset, and I remember my mum taking the controller off me, and she was like, "You're not playing that anymore because you get too upset and you can't keep it on." It was so bad. And she would be like, "Oh, you need to wait until your brothers get back home so that they can help you." So that's how far back it went for me. I literally just got brought up with games through my brothers.
Right.
Pretty much. So yeah, there's a cool picture that I've still got that my mum kept of me literally as a baby over the Mega Drive.
Oh wow.
With headphones on. Yeah.
And it was your older brothers playing. And you sort of just got into it through them. That's actually quite common because if I think back to those times, I know I'm not going to release. We don't need to release ages. We don't need to do that. But I'm like 4 and a bit years older than you.
Okay.
And around that time, there were not many girls playing games. Like all the people I spoke to in the playground or whatever it was all boys that had the Mega Drives at the time, which was the system to have, especially over here. So, and the girls that did play, they tended to get into it through their siblings. Obviously, it's a lot different now. It's a different world now completely. But so, I guess, did it feel growing up like you didn't have that many girlfriends who were into gaming?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. Do you know what? Even still to this day, I don't have many girlfriends that game. That there's a couple. But they'll only play like a specific game that they've maybe been introduced by like somebody else. Like they've not been interested in gaming. They've just liked the game that that's been kind of introduced to them, and they've played that game. So I don't really have any friends who will sit on their own, have their own console and game. I couldn't even pick one. So even through school and things, that was kind of the case. It still was. Not until I went to like college and things like that, or kind of later on in primary school, it was most of like it was mostly the guys that I was friends with at the time that would game, and I would just kind of like game with them. I never really had anyone. I had never had like a girlfriend that would game with me, so I've always just kind of like game solo and game mostly with my brothers and things like that.
Yeah, so obviously you started out you playing Master System, Mega Drive. What was the first console that was yours then, or was it? Were you always just playing your brothers up until you were a teen, or?
It would have been the N64. that's when I kind of just started sort of like playing my own games and kind of just sort of playing myself. When I got the N64, it just became different when I would start to play not solo, but I would start to find my own feet and start finding games that I liked myself and just kind of went
Yes.
on from there.
So
Yeah.
what kind of games were you playing on the N64?
It was Ocarina of Time, Zelda, that started it for me.
Yeah.
That's where the love began with Zelda anyway. I was obsessed with that game. I loved it. GoldenEye was great. Mario Kart was fab. Diddy Kong Racing. There was so many great games on that console.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, that was that was a real sort of. I'd always been into gaming for quite a few years previous, and we'd moved to America and back. And when I'd gone to America, I made a big mistake because we moved over there, and I was told, oh, we're not going to take the Mega Drive because it's a different power system and whatever, but we'll get you a console when we get there because my dad got relocation money. So when I got there, they said, oh, what would you like? And I could pick the console. And I looked at the Game Gear and I was like, this has Sonic games I haven't played on it because it had like the Master System versions, the 8-bit versions. And I was like, well, I haven't played these Sonic games, so I want that. Which was a bit of a mistake. But then, because, I mean,
well, did you not like them? Did you not like them?
No, I like them. They're not as good as the, I probably enjoyed them more later on than I did when I was a kid. I just didn't feel like they were as good as the 16-bits. And they were harder as well. Well, certainly the second one was much harder. The one with the hang gliders was harder. But then at my dad's like company picnic thing, which is like a work family thing that they have, most big firms have out there. I think it was rigged, but I won a Super Nintendo. So like that's where it went for me. But it wasn't, gaming was still then sort of it was sort of still like it was either still for teenage boys or kids in general. And then with the release of like the Sony PlayStation, all that sort of changed, and I noticed a lot more girls getting into gaming. And we would have, at first there was a lot of games that I think they tried to aim at women, like the dance mat, which I actually loved. Loads of fun on the dance mat.
Yeah, Dance Mat was great because I remember that coming out and I was like, oh my gosh, because I would spend a lot of time in the arcades on the dance machines.
Yes.
So when that came out, I was like, oh my gosh, but it was not the same, was it? It was terrible.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't the same.
I was just like, this is just not the same as the arcade, but I don't know what I was expecting. But
no, the mat wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I a few years later, when it wasn't new anymore, I went round somebody's house and they had some really good mats, but they must have been really expensive. And like this is when the hype had died down as well. But I feel like that was like a bit of a turning point with regards to women starting to play, women and girls starting to play games. They even, I don't know if you remember, they released a Spice Girls game for the PlayStation.
Yeah.
It was freaking terrible, but like they were actually making games for women. And then it sort of weirdly evolved into, well, hang on a minute, actually, you don't need to make all these games like Barbie does this and such and such does that. Actually, it turns out that these girls and women just like to play games just like guys do. And actually, they do like RPGs, they do like strategy games, they do like action games, they do like platforming games where
it was like a moment.
Yeah, a really big
like,
thing.
Whoa. Yeah.
But I guess like if you were like a marketing company, if you were doing the marketing for something like that, you look at sports, and obviously a lot's changed in sport as well, but not like on the level of gaming, where like there's still a lot of trends between the sports that men and women play, but in gaming, and if you look on Twitch now, I mean, you'll find women playing every genre, like every genre. Which is really good. And I think it's also good for creating friendships. Well, I found it's good for creating friendships between sexes as well. That probably wouldn't have, might not have happened otherwise. Certainly for me. So what was it that what was it that inspired you to actually take the plunge and start streaming? And also, were you watching any content before that, you know?
I don't even know. The whole idea of like the streaming situation came a few years ago when it was going to be me and my brother that were going to start up
Right, okay.
together and stream. So it was actually him that had put that kind of like idea in my head where he was like, we should like stream stuff because
Mm,
um it would always have been retro because we have like great nights together where we're like in still with that N64 just like
yeah.
we were like 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes,
it's just it's
yes,
such a family event for me. We still get the N64 out every Christmas, and me and my
yes.
brothers will play it. You know, we'll be up the whole night the next morning playing games just like we did when we were younger. So it was my brother that kind of says like, why don't we just stream this and it'll be funny, and you know we might get talking to people that are kind of in a similar situation to us and that really
Yeah.
like the old game still. And that was the only time that I had started thinking about it, and I thought that would be a good laugh because um, it will be good to kind of see where it goes and who we get to speak to. So it was literally just as simple as that. There was no, I wonder, like in the future if we'll get views. There was nothing even to do with that. It was just literally going to be for us, just to kind of like put it online and see what happens, sort of thing. So, we talked about it on and off all the time, and then a year and a half ago we bought the capture card. And we
Right.
halved in for this, and we were like, "Oh, we can finally get this sorted now." But see, at this point, I didn't have a PC. Like, I had
Mm-hmm.
no PC. I just had a laptop for uni and college work. Like, I wasn't a PC gamer type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It was always consoles for me. But my brother had a gaming laptop, and he was like, "We can just stream through my laptop. We'll half in for this Roxio capture card, and we'll just like see what happens." So that was the plan. And then again, for another 6 months to a year, we done nothing with it. Um, and then by this point, though, I was so busy with like work and you know my jobs in uni and college that I just didn't game anymore. I didn't, and my
Yeah.
little one as well. You know, like she took
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
all of my time. So whenever I did have like a 2 weeks Christmas holiday or whatever from like my work and things like that, I would just go back to the games that I had always played
Yeah.
and you know just to kind of unwind and chill out. So I kind of lost my way with gaming for years. You know, I
Mm.
had my little one young, and I've always worked really really hard, and I just never ever found the time anymore. And then when lockdown hit, I thought, oh my god, this is amazing. I have all this time. Like
Time all of
I'm
a sudden.
furloughed. My uni works went online. Wow, do you know what I mean? This
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
great thing. I was like, I can game again and just do what I want to do. And then at that point, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go all out and whack it online like we kind of had discussed and just see what happens. And that's how it started. So I had nothing. I had a laptop, that capture card, and I was sitting on the floor with nothing. Had nothing.
That was
Uh,
when. So that was when you started 10 months ago.
yeah. hmm
So were you watching Twitch at all or YouTube or before that?
YouTube, no. YouTube's pretty alien to me. I never actually really ever went on YouTube unless I was like watching some sort of tutorial for something or
Yeah.
whatever, but never to do with gaming. I started back on Twitch. I went on Twitch maybe a couple of years ago because I found that there was a Zelda-thon
All right.
channel, and I seen it on Facebook, and I loved the fact that they were streaming for like 7 full days, completing all the Zelda games, and I was like, that is amazing. So I
Mm.
would go on every Christmas or in the summer when they would do their charity event, their Zelda-thon event, and that's all I used it for. But when April hit and the lockdown hit last year, I started coming on and actually watching people's streams. So
Yeah.
I would kind of like just like delve about and find kind of like different streams, and I would go in and say hi every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really when it started, was when lockdown had hit, and I thought I'm actually
Mm.
going to go on and see what this is actually about.
Yeah, which I think is the same for a lot of people starting to stream. So it's got to be said that if you started to stream then, it's a very tough time to start streaming with regards to growth of the channel because obviously a lot of people are doing the same thing and streaming at the same time. And what did you go in with any sort of did you go in with any expectations? Did you sort of think, well, was it just I'll see what happens kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it was a very much I'll see what happens. I didn't even know what I was doing with it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know if I was going to stick to the plan. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know if I was going to like it. It was
Mm.
literally just a test that's just worked out extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I loved it, and I've met amazing people through it that I never imagined I would. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to. I'm so naive, and I'm not afraid to kind of say how naive I am still, because it's all so new to me. So new to me. What was I saying in your stream the other day? Like what a boomer was.
Oh yeah, asking what a
I'm
boomer
just
was.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so out of touch, and I know that, and I'm learning at 100 miles an hour still. Just trying to figure everything out,
yeah,
and I don't even think I think I would have a cheat to say that I kind of know where I'm going still, because I'm still learning at this point. I'm still
yeah. Well,
learning.
yeah, I think like so I've been going 2 years, and I think I think you just constantly learn. But
Hmm.
you obviously you I think with a lot of the people who I've spoken to who turn around to me and say I started my channel but nobody's coming to watch, they have already been on Twitch, prolifically. They have watched a lot of streams. They've been in the Twitch community, and they've been inspired by streamers they've been watching for a while, and that's their inspiration. So they sort of expect similar things, and they have an expectation. Most people I know who have done pretty well haven't actually had an expectation when they started.
Mm.
I didn't have an expectation. I hadn't even watched a stream before I hit go live. I had no idea. People were using the Kappa emote, and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Day 10, I was raided by Super Mario Maker streamer Orature with 1,800 people. I didn't know what a raid was. And
Yeah, that happened to me. Someone raided me,
and you didn't know what it
and I
was.
didn't I didn't even say anything.
Well,
And I still don't know who it was to
I,
this day, but I look back and think, oh my word.
yeah, I just looked at the counter and I was like, and the chat was going crazy, and I was like, I don't know where you've all come from, but I'm glad you're here. And they kept saying the
Oh my
bulb. They call him
gosh.
the bulb man. That's his thing. That's his shtick. He's the bulb man. And they kept saying the bulb man sent us, and I was like,
You're
I
like,
don't
what
know
is
what
this?
but it was good for them because obviously that doesn't normally happen. Like people know
Mm.
what raids are, but
Yeah.
I had no clue like whatsoever. But I think it's I think it's good to not have like the expectations, because at the end of the day, there are very few people, like very, very few people. I think I've passed this stat along so many times when I've talked on these podcasts, but if you have an average viewership of 7, you're in the top 3%, top 3% for 7. So it's extremely difficult to be
Yeah.
successful on. Very, very
Yeah.
difficult. If you
Hmm.
are, if you are averaging over 20 viewers, you're in like the top 1.5%, and that is, people get annoyed when they hit that and they don't grow, and it's like, well, what's your expectation?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's and people ask now, like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And it's like, do you know what?
What,
I don't even really
yeah.
know.
What do you do? I don't really know myself.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
you
I
just
don't
do
know.
it.
But I feel like I don't know enough about like how Twitch works either
Mm,
to even kind of comment on like how you would get more views, or
mm,
I don't know how people find me. Every time I've started asking now, because I am kind of intrigued on
mm.
how someone's coming across me, and 9 out of 10 times they'll say to me, "You're on recommended."
Recommended.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I
that.
don't know what would make me be on recommended compared to someone else not being. Is it someone who
Mm,
I've met through another stream? Like I don't know how it works, or does Twitch decide that? I'm not sure.
I think I'm not an expert on this by any stretch. I think that it can either be sort of genres and categories. So retro, I would say, like as a category, is not too oversubscribed as well. So obviously,
Yeah.
anybody who regularly goes on retro, or plays games that are of that ilk will then get recommended other streamers who play sort of a similar thing. Like I just always used to get recommended Super Mario Maker 2 streamers.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not retro Super Mario Maker 2. It's a newish game, but like the style is retro. And I think that's how I was recommended. I think that's why I was recommended your channel. Because I'm pretty it would have been through recommended that I found you, because I don't go like to retro and then scroll down. Or I don't do that often. So it must have been through that. And you were playing, what were you playing? I'm pretty sure it was Golden Axe, or no, I think it was Streets of Rage actually. Back in the day though.
Probably would have been, yeah. I've played that quite a few times on there.
Yeah. But there are people who get quite bitter about this, about the fact that they don't have growth and stuff. And one of the common things for many men to say, because I've seen people say it on social media, I've heard people say it in my chat, and I'm like, I don't go mad at these people for saying it, but they'll say, oh, if I was a girl, it would be easy. Or if I was a woman, it would be easy. Or, if I had tits, it would be easy. And it's like, I'm kind of like, yeah. So just before we started this, I took a look at this week's top 20 streams. There are no women in the top 20. Now, could I don't know any evidence for smaller, like when you're very first starting communities, and women, but I will tell you that I know plenty of intelligent and attractive women, younger and older, who are streaming and still struggling to grow their community. Like, stuck in, just getting into double digits. So from my point of view, it's not that easy. But why do you think that? What do you think it is that puts this idea into people's heads? That's what I try and work out, because it's difficult. What do you think puts this idea into people's heads?
It's hard to even comprehend. I don't know if that's like a throwaway jealous remark because somebody isn't getting what they want on their stream. That I've never heard any girl on girl hate like that. But I'm really new to this argument because I've not really delved into it much. I've not really touched on it a lot. I've heard people, or I've seen tweets of people commenting about how someone said that to them, and they're like, what is this all about? It's getting it must be quite a regular thing. I don't know who's saying it. No one's come in yet and said to me, oh, you're getting kind of pretty far on because you're a girl. I've not had it yet, personally. And do you know what? I don't actually know what my reaction would be. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think it's ridiculous. Like, it just seems like such an immature, daft comment to make. I don't really get, because I would love for someone to come up to me and go like that because you're a girl. Well, why? So what is it?
Try it. Yeah, explain that to me. Yeah.
Explain more to me, please.
Yeah.
I've not came across anyone yet, and I don't know if they would even answer because they wouldn't even know themselves. What a daft comment to make. Yeah. I feel anyway.
I think there's definitely an amount of people. There's definitely a lot of jealous people because obviously it's like a dream job, right? It's a dream job. So there are a lot of people that would be that are desperate to do it because it's a dream job, and then they buy the gear, and then it's like, well, this is it now, and then it doesn't happen, and then it's like, well, unfortunately, with a lot of humans, it's like, well, the people who tend not to succeed tend to always look outwardly for something else instead of looking inwards and saying, well, what do I need to change up? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
They look for something else. But and
because
of course,
if you have that kind of mindset of, oh, it's just because she's a girl and that's why I'm going to assume it's mostly males that will.
That's what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen, a male come forward and say, she's just said that I'm popular for this,
Mm,
that, and the other because I'm a male. And you've just said yourself, the
mm.
top of Twitch is male.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
why,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense. So
No,
I can't imagine someone with that narrow mind being very fun to watch on their stream.
no. Well, that's
Like
it.
maybe that's what it is. You might just be an ass.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it just,
exactly. I
I
mean,
just, I don't know. Are you chanting that on your stream, and you're wondering why people don't want to come see you?
mm,
It just doesn't. They don't seem very
well,
friendly or
yeah. I
warm.
mean, the only sort of people that would be into that would be pretty trash people themselves, I guess, and
Mhm.
it wouldn't be very inviting for people anyway, even if they were decent streamers.
Mhm.
A load of bitter men just hating on women. If if I wanted that, then I'd go to like the back street pubs in town. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
listen to them moan about their ex-wife or whatever. But
yeah.
it's interesting because, and this is the other thing, is like obviously one of the positive things I see on the female side as well is like obviously there are, and most of these streamers are happy to call themselves, that I've spoken to anyway, they'll call themselves titty streamers, like it's a common thing, and or they don't all play games or whatever. And most of the other women are like, well, hey, I don't care. Like, if that's
Yeah,
what you want to do it. And
yeah.
I'm of the same thinking. Like, I'm probably not going to stick around and sub in those streams, but
Hmm.
like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's by no stretch of the imagination the majority of female streamers, that's not what they're doing.
Hmm.
And no problem if they are, but like I don't know if that it stems from that, and then some
Like
people
we're
think,
all put in the one category. If
yeah,
they've seen one person do that, we're all like that sort of thing.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
they're,
yeah.
yeah.
But again,
But how
the
so narrow-minded again? It's like, oh
mm,
my gosh, like you wouldn't categorize anybody like that in any other
no,
situation.
no, and this is the thing, the women who are, you know, really into gaming and always have been, or love what they're doing, they're not hating on those people either.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and this is the other thing, I'm like, if somebody wants to go and watch, this incredibly glamorous young woman, and they are very interested in the physicality of her, they're probably not going to want to come and watch me because
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
a woman. So they're not stealing. It's not like they'd be stealing my views, because at the end of the day, if
Because you
that's
could you could argue that you could say it to any type of streamer.
mm,
Someone who's into really modern type games, they're not going to come to me. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Everybody's
yeah,
got
yeah,
a preference of what they
yeah,
want
yeah,
to go
yeah, of
on
course,
Twitch
yeah,
for. So people taking more offense because people are going to, those type of streamers, they wouldn't have the same, that's like me getting really annoyed at someone going and watching what they want and not coming and watching me because they don't like what I do. You know what? That's just life.
yeah,
People
yeah,
have preferences of what
yeah,
they
yeah,
want to
yeah.
watch. It's bizarre, it's a bit, I don't
I,
know.
I I feel like a lot of these people, like from the jobs I used to do it and wherever I've worked, and you'll probably know yourself, Louise, that you have to if you want to get better at whatever you're doing, you have to accept that you have flaws and weaknesses, and also that
Mhm.
you're not going to get on with absolutely everybody either,
Yeah.
and you have to
Hmm.
accept that. And I feel like these people have trouble accepting that.
Definitely, because and do you know what? It's not an easy thing to accept.
No, it's not.
You kind of need to teach yourself that.
Yes, definitely,
You need to have a
definitely.
word with yourself.
Yeah, you
Like
do.
you'll know probably a specific situation where something's happened in your life, and you've had to actually go, well, Louise, do you know what? Like that's just life. You're not going to get on with everyone, and
Yes.
something's not going to be up your street. That
Yeah.
that's just that's
Yeah.
just what happens. And I think if you're like that, you start to judge a lot less.
Definitely.
know? And it just seems like these type of people that do hit out with such ridiculous comments, I just feel like they'll never ever be able to sit down with themselves and maybe kind of think, do you know what, maybe it is me. I don't see them,
Yeah.
it just seems like that's their mindset and that's it. If you can't analyze the way you're acting to yourself, it's hard to words, but I just feel like you need to kind of like teach yourself that kind of way of thinking. It feels very school type.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been in jobs previously where it was, so for instance, Tesco, I worked from the bottom up to a reasonably high position within that. But I ended up hating it, but I remember when I first became a line manager, when I was doing training, it was like I was told, we don't care about what you're good at because we know you can do that. So what are you going to turn around and say you're bad at? And I was like 22 years old, 23 years old. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm 22, 23, and I'm obviously absolutely marvelous. Like,
yeah, brilliant.
Look what I've got here straight away. Like, you put me on this program and now, and then you're already talking about what I'm, and they're like, no, but you think you're perfect, you're not. And it's like, oh shit, maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
And I thought you go through your teenage years thinking, well, I'm not perfect, but I haven't got that many flaws, and I've got friends, so I must be all right. Like, and you get by, and then it is a big shock, and it feels like these people have never been put in that position, maybe where they've been challenged on anything, and they perhaps don't like it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it does. I think you need to get taken down a notch at some point in your life to start to sort of think the opposite way or the other way and start analysing. Hold on a minute, because that's how people grow in every sense. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. You make mistakes, or that's just how you kind of you get on and you start to like think not a different way, but just start thinking of like other ways or from other point of views, which I think is always a good thing to have.
Definitely.
It's a good trait to have.
So what do you think it is then about because obviously there are plenty of big female streamers. What do you think it is about the very top, the very, very top? Because you would look at that and you'd look at the top 20 and think, well, obviously there's probably more, I don't know the stats, but there's probably more men that stream than women, right? But even so, are there 20 times more women? I don't think so. So you'd expect to see a couple in the top 20 at least. And you think, well, why is that not happening?
So there's none? Did you just say
there's none? I look through every now and again. Occasionally there is one. I don't believe, I might be mistaken, but certainly, no, there isn't any this week.
Okay. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know whether... I honestly just couldn't even pinpoint anything that might be happening that could cause that. I'm not sure. I mean, how big are we talking? You're talking about the top.
We're talking about the top. And I can't... I'm not checking now, but if I look through to the top 40, there may be some women in there that don't have... profile pictures of themselves, and it's like I don't think there's any in the top 40 at the minute either.
Right. Okay.
It's and
what do you think?
I think I don't know, it's strange because I kind of feel like there would be some. I know, like, I've done quite a lot of research on gender equality, sex equality, the pay gap, equality in the workplace, and that kind of thing. I had to learn as part of that as I went through Tesco anyway, but I've done a lot of the research into the psychology of it. Now, obviously, if you talk about a classic job compared to Twitch, I don't know how well I can relate that and bring it over, because Twitch is so strange because you can work when you want to.
Uh-huh.
So the obvious things, like one of the most obvious things, which is an obstacle for women in the workplace, is childcare.
Mm-hmm.
Even though now we can have, even though now we can split maternity, paternity, it's still the vast majority. It's women looking after the kids for the lion's share of the time, anyway. The one of the other things is that men are more aggressive. So like aggression in men and women is actually pretty similar, but the very most aggressive people are men. And that's why there's so many men in prison compared to women. And you've got to be in a normal job. Like if we're talking about getting to the top and being a CEO of a company, you've got to be aggressive because those jobs are incredibly competitive. But again, does that really translate to Twitch? Because you're only competing if you're a woman. Yes, you are competing with the men just for being a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
But are you competing directly with any one man? I wouldn't say so. Like, not really. So I can't. This is why I struggle, because I can't. I know why these things happen in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
For right or wrong, I know why, but I don't know why I don't know why it happens on Twitch, because it's
Mm-hmm.
such different.
Yeah.
Because like,
And obviously there's something happening, because if there's never, I mean, you're obviously telling me that the top at the minute there isn't any females, but I'm going to assume that's usually the case.
yeah, I again, I've looked over like a period, and occasionally I do it by week, because I do the streams by week and then all time. And I expected to see, more like we hear a lot about like Pokimane and all the other big female streamers. There's plenty of Alinity and all these other huge female streamers, and I expect to see them pop in and out, and I don't, and
You don't see them.
no, and it does really shock me. It really really shocks me, because obviously, in terms of who I watch on Twitch, it's probably quite even between men and women.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Do you think there is an aspect of luck in amongst streamers and where they're placed on Twitch, and if they are maybe getting bumped up slightly more than someone else? Do you think there's an element of maybe someone being shown more than others, where they're actually getting more views from that and starting to climb up the ladder? Or do you think it's all down to how the streamer is streaming?
I would obviously, we'd like to think that wouldn't be the case, but something tells me that.
Because the only reason I'm saying that is because I have met some amazing streamers.
Yes.
And I cannot think for the life of me why they're not growing.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I always think, is there something else going on that we don't know about? Or there, sometimes it's as clear as day, this person isn't growing for this reason, and you can see it, but there is some people that you think, why are they not growing? It doesn't happen often, but there is people that I question as to why they're not being shown as much, or they're not growing, or I don't know. It's such a huge pit, if you can call it that, where there's so much going on. There's so many people on it. I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of it, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I could think about this for hours.
Yeah, it's very to try and they will never tell anything about their algorithm ever. But see, I've gotten to I scrolled down as far as 79. That's Pokimane's at number 79. And she is one of the biggest. She's one of the, she was the first one that came to my mind. I've never watched her, but she's the first one who came to my mind. And there may have been another couple in there, but the first obvious female, because some people don't have pictures, and you can't always assume gender and everything like that. And there are very few. And then there's somebody called Jamita at 116, and it's like, but I think as far as the algorithms are concerned, I feel like what Twitch want is for you to be marketable, as in, I guess, kind of similar to how a TV station would want a presenter to be. So I've seen people who draw in the numbers and they apply like 9-10 times. You think, well, hang on, this person is friendly. This person is getting the numbers. This person is making them lots of money. Yet they're not partner, and it might just be that they're not all. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Today, and how are you doing? And it, a bit less of the personality, and a bit more of the normal spiel. But they happen to be pretty good at it. But then those people, I've noticed as well, those people are good at growing, but those people also don't hit the top. And the people who do hit the top have usually a very strong personality, and usually what most people would consider very strong views. And I don't necessarily think that that's what Twitch pushes, but it just so happens that people happen to like them, because a lot of the people at the top are not afraid to talk about anything, or other streamers or anything like that. Whereas like I've called out people before, and like people really don't like it. They really don't like it. They don't like the truth. They don't like hearing stuff about people who are their friends. They just try and cover up any sort of facts. They ignore what you actually say. And it's like, and then people say, oh, if you have this attitude, Joe, and it's like, well, I don't have strong opinions. I just tell people what they are, and I don't let people tread on me, which is a bit different. Because I'm involved in a Mario Maker community. The problem with that is, obviously, I don't really have these problems in my own community, but it's like external within the Mario Maker community. It becomes very competitive, and people start to say stuff. They didn't like, a lot of them didn't like my rise, because there's a big team and or organization within Mario Maker, and they're just like, join this club, everybody in who plays Mario Maker. And I've been called out for bad mouthing them, when all I said was, I don't think it's a good idea to go in there as a small streamer if you've built a small community already, because there are a few people at the top who are pushing for partner, or have just recently got partner, and they're the best. They're going to be a lot better than those people who are just starting, and there's a good chance that you could lose your community by taking it there. Or I just didn't see it as a good idea. You were going to get lost amongst those people, so I went a different way, avoided all those people, not doing the raids for raids. And I think people don't like that. And I think that ultimately, and then people say to me, if you have that attitude, people aren't going to like that, and you might struggle to grow. And it's like, well, look at all the people at the top.
I don't think that's true, though. I think that's a kind of pass-away comment to kind of scare you into doing what everybody else is meant to do. Yeah. I think that's like, well, you're going to fail on your own. It's like oh, well, maybe I should just stick with him type of comment. It's kind of like scaremongering in a way. It's quite. I actually didn't realise how much or how competitive. Well, I knew people have it. Some people are driven by competition, aren't they? They live for it. They live and breathe for it, and that's fair enough. Because if it's in you, it's in you. If that's the way you are, that's the way you are. But it can turn sour. It can turn nasty.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of. It's not nice to watch, or not nice to witness, or to see.
No.
And and it's usually that type of person that get angry if you're not joining that.
Yeah, I had people don't like. I think people themselves are scared as well. They're scared of failing in anything, And I've always been of the opinion, well, when I started streaming and got established a little bit, I was like, well, like with this podcast, like with other stuff, like with YouTube, did a bit, I've done a bit. But I juggle a few things, and if I drop the ball on one of them and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. What have I lost?
Yeah.
And I get, so there was somebody recently who was I had an altercation with, and I ended up messaging them because they were saying all this stuff on Discords. They were saying it on people's streams. They were putting things in TTS rewards. And I had no idea who this person was. Literally no idea who this person was. So I messaged him and said, what's the problem? Well, I didn't just message him. I went into a stream, which I probably shouldn't have done, and asked where they were. But we did message, and it was just like, before I even said anything, this person knows everything. They know I've got a podcast. They know that, and they don't follow me on Twitter or anything. They don't follow me. They know I've got a podcast. They know that I've started a stream team, which is a stream team I started up because I was tired of these people trying to get people on board and tread on them. Basically, people that they probably knew didn't have that much potential that they could boost off. I was like, no, I'm gonna find a team for this Nintendo, like a Nintendo team that have potential, and we grow together, which makes more sense to me. And all he could do was throw generic insults at me.
It had nothing.
He had nothing, and it's so weird. It's so weird. Like, I've never been. He's obviously like gone through, and he even said, I had one of these podcasts with Frankie Plays, who's already been on, who is a great, strong woman like yourself, and she's only 22 years old, and she's a secondary school teacher, and she has an older head and certainly a wiser head on younger shoulders. And I tried to not sound as like condescending as that does. It's not how it's meant at all, and Frankie knows that. But and we talked about some really serious things, and he turned around and said, "Oh yeah, it's like you got that girl on your podcast so that you could, like, it was like an older guy hitting on the young girl at the bar." And I was like, "Why have you even I don't care, because I know that's not the case, but like, why did you even watch it? Obsessed."
Because everybody loves to know how somebody's doing that they don't like.
But why?
I don't know, because I've never been like that, and it's still alien to me, but I know what happens, and it is like an obsession. Like, they need to know that you're. I don't know what it is. It's like they need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It gets to them, if someone really, really dislikes you, it's a weird way of, I don't know why people do it. Like, I've never understood it. But the chances are the majority of people are like that. I've noticed that. I've even seen it within like friends and stuff. And
yeah.
Like, why are you doing that? Because you're annoying yourself.
Yeah.
Just stop looking at stuff that's going to wind you up. Like, if you don't like that person, then just move on with your life. Like,
go.
it's as simple as that.
Leave it,
people can't do that. And that's obviously like an example of it. Like, if someone doesn't like you, you'll be sure that they're in looking at your stuff. Like, I'm quite private on Twitch, because I don't really try and mix my personal life with my Twitch life.
Yeah.
I keep them separate, because I don't, you just don't know who's watching you.
You don't.
And it's quite a scary thing, because, as you say, some people can take a disliking to you for no reason. Yeah. And it's the strangest thing. It is the strangest thing. And obviously there's a lot of that on Twitch as well, and that is just obviously kind of shown to you. If a person that doesn't like you is coming and watching, but maybe he is watching you to see if you're speaking about him. Yeah, well, it could be something in that sense, where it could have been, but I didn't know who he was. Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? I know. Because you don't know what's going through someone else's head about you. That's
No.
the scary thing as well. You know, someone can take something that it scares me because I'm always quite wary of it on my channel anyway.
Yes.
I try just to keep it fun. I am on my Twitch channel to have a good time and play old games that I used to enjoy or haven't played. That is as far as it goes. This is my space.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of fun, and it will stay that way, you know. So but people try and make it something that it's not, and you will probably insult somebody. Chances are you're going to say something that somebody else doesn't like.
Without a doubt.
And that's you know, that's just it. You're not it's not as if you're meaning to do it, but you'll rub somebody up the wrong way. And if you get someone who is, you know, who does take it badly, that's what you know, people like that can just start to cause an issue in their head that you are just really not, you know, you're causing them issues when you don't even know who they are. It's like a fixation. It really is.
Yeah, I think as well, like with obviously Mario Maker gave me everything in streaming, and I streamed almost exclusively Mario Maker until recently. You know, when I got close to partner, obviously I wasn't going to try and rock the boat with anything. But if you are playing a game constantly, the same game constantly, you are in that community whether you like it or not. You will be talked about by the rest of the community, and that's not the reason that I've always wanted to diverge a bit and play different games. That was always the plan anyway. But certainly now, I'm feeling so glad for starting to move on to other avenues, because if you play in variety, then people aren't going to come for you. They're not interested. Whereas if you play Mario Maker, or you're one of the big first-person shooter streamers, because I like Call of Duty as well, and I watch Dr. Disrespect, and there's those first-person shooters at the top of the stream game. You know, there's some bitter rivalries and things have happened, and they can't escape it because they're the top first-person shooter streamers. So there's always going to be trash talked about them.
There's always going to be jealousy and bitterness and just people that just want to stir the pot. Yeah. People that just want to create drama. You know, there's a lot of people that thrive on drama and they'll create it no matter what you're doing. You know, it's just bad stuff. And as you say, if you're at the top, you can't hide from that. You know, you're a small streamer, you can get them going. You know, and you can kind of nip it in the bud. But the bigger you get, you know, especially as you say, if you're just concentrating on one game, they're going to eventually find you and come into you and maybe start that way, you know. Whereas if it's the thing is as well, like when I've kind of noticed like the competition thing, or you know, saying that I'm good at a game, I don't even really say anymore. Like, you know, if I've played a game a lot in the past or whether I haven't, I go on and I'll play the game, because there's so many people, and it can be as friendly as you like. Everyone loves a wee bit of competition, you know. Everyone loves to see somebody, you know, if they're like, oh, they're actually doing worse at this game than I would do. There's always going to be, you know, people thinking behind the lines of what you're doing as a streamer. You know, you come on for fun, someone will question it. You come on and you're meant to be great at a game, they're going to question you for it and see how good you are. You know, that there's always going to be something that's happening at that point. And I always try, especially with my streams, the whole point of my streams is just to get people together for the love of the game. That's it. It's not for the gameplay itself. You know, I'm not sitting saying that I'm a great gamer. I'm not. I'm far from it. But I get a lot of joy of playing games. And when you do get someone coming in eventually going, oh, well, you know, you're not doing it right, go away. Find someone that's good at the game then, you know, because you're in the wrong place. But there's so much of that. There's so much of that on Twitch.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think, I don't know why you'd want to put yourself through trying to be the best, because there'll be somebody playing it more than you, even if you hammer it. Like, even if you hammer it 12 hours a day, somebody will be playing it 18 hours a day and they'll be better. And that's the way it is. There can only be one best. So if you're going to go into it with that attitude, I mean, There are streamers who are just really good, and that's their shtick. That's their stream, and that's cool, and up to them. But I can't imagine anything worse because, one, you've got to play one game, and you've got to play it to death, like all the time, which would do my head in. Well, I did it for a long time, basically, and they're playing it off stream as well, and you think, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that forever. And then two, you got to worry about what everyone else is doing, how good they're becoming, and whether they're beating you. Because
that's stressful. I couldn't be bothered with that.
No.
That's stress to me. That would take the love out of the game for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine anything worse. Do you know that? Like, just, constantly trying to play, a game that I probably started off loving.
Yeah.
And then it turning into like such a chore and a stress and trying to look at how somebody else is playing and constantly worrying about if I'm, progressing in the game. It would just... that must be a stressful way to think. That must be a stressful way to live, and do that. I just can't imagine. For me, anyway, I couldn't imagine anything worse. That would probably like drag me under.
Yeah,
trying to cope with that, in that mindset.
Yeah, and then you'll get fans from other streams as well if it's competitive, and then you could get the Twitter mob on top of you, which. I mean, I've had that anyway, just for being honest. And again, it's like the problem as well as with Twitter is, although my kind of experience is because the Twitter stuff bounces off me pretty well, but I can see how it gets to people. It does get to a lot of people. But like, if I see something that I see that's profoundly bad, all I'll do is call it out, whether that gets anywhere or whatever. I just call it out. If it makes one person think, to try and manage, well, not even try to do anything. If it just makes them think, whether they agree with me or not, if it just makes them think, then so do it. Because I get so sick of people retweeting things without a second thought. They'll just see what somebody puts and they'll retweet it. They won't check if there's any facts behind it. They won't ask for. They won't validate anything. Because I had a situation recently with. A woman who made a habit of calling out, sexual abusers, right? Which is not a bad thing. I totally agree with that. Without any shred of evidence or proof. Now, I was always like, look, you got to believe a victim, right? I would never turn around and say you're lying. Of course not. But by the same token, we can be wary, but we can't just say that happened. We can't, as much as, we'd like to say that somebody never lies and the majority are not lying, it still happens occasionally. And that doesn't mean so basically but that's not, that's the truth. Yeah, that's it. You don't know.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Things coming out in the news and people have lied about it.
Yeah.
John, like your gender doesn't even come into it.
No.
It's been, it's the two sides are the same.
Yeah.
There has been people that are lying about that. So you've not even said anything.
No, well, that's the truth. And this is the thing. And I'm also not saying that because how can you know? You don't. I don't know if they've done it. I don't know if they're lying. But of course, if somebody comes to me, especially a friend who is, or anyone said this has happened, of course I'm going to be like, shit, I need to support this person. That's going to be my first thing. And this is what annoys me, is because it almost seems like their first thing is, we got to get this person. Not, hang on a minute. Shit, what's happened is what this person's going through is terrible. Shouldn't we be thinking about them first before anything else anyway? But people like to grab the pitchforks straight away. And so basically this woman had been doing this for a long time. People she didn't know. She'd get a thing, she'd call them out, and I was like, if that's what you want to do, that's up to you. And then one day, somebody got called out, but it was her boss in the streaming world and or friend from the streaming world. These are two streamers. And the one that was accused. Silence, nothing. Didn't say a word. Right. So I was like, hang on a minute. And that person influences so many people on Twitter that share that stuff when it's about that. And I said, can we just look at this? Please just think. Please just think before you are retweeting in that, because obviously maybe now she thinks, shit, actually, hang on, I know this guy. I like this guy. I get on with this guy. And of course that's going to cause some turmoil. But if you're not prepared to do it to him, you shouldn't be doing it to the other people as well. And you should be concentrating on your victims, on the victims of these crimes or alleged crimes. I see this happen like every day, and that shit does bounce off me. But I just think it's so terrible that these small groups of people think that they're all in each other's Twitter, so they all think that it's much bigger than what it is. They all think their opinion is much bigger than what it is as well, because they're all retweeting and liking each other's stuff in a circle. And it makes things really, really interesting, because you will get people, you see people doing it for virtue, so they're doing it to be like, oh hey, look at me, I'm a good person, I'm a really good person because I'm this and that's this. And I got called misogynistic for pointing this out, the truth, only facts. Like, you can't know and I can't know. Facts. That's just the truth. Are many women treated badly? Yes, obviously. But I'd never say otherwise. Like nobody's going to argue that. The stats speak for themselves. Nobody would argue that. I've been called so many different things that are just bounced off me because they've been said by people who aren't that important to me, for one, but also just don't read into truths.
Yeah, well, I mean, because if you thought, that strongly of like a type of opinion, you shouldn't really bite somebody's head off for questioning it. Like, someone could come back to you and explain their thinking to you.
They don't, though.
Instead of just calling you
exactly
anything under the sun. It's like a bite. It's a they're biting back at you. They don't even want to have a conversation when, if it, that's an important thing, and that's an important thing to discuss. Discuss it.
Yeah,
then,
isn't it? Yeah, it is an important thing.
Speak about it, and don't just bite back, because you could get somebody that doesn't get it, and then, as you say, if you accept someone else's train of thought, or you accept, I have a different opinion from Y has a different opinion from X. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if you have that open-mindedness, I could be so strongly about an opinion, and someone else will speak to me and have a totally different opinion, and then I'll listen to them. But because I listen, there could be something that I pick up that I've not thought of before.
Exactly.
And that's what people need to learn to do. But people are so just overprotective, and no, I'm right.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
So,
it ruins everything. It ruins everything.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in in that situation. I just mean in any situation, any argument, people don't listen. And if you sit and if you speak to somebody and you say, do you know what, you've said that and I still don't agree with that, then it's fine.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But trying to get your point across, even if you've got a great point and you backlash like that and you hit out, people aren't really going to take you seriously.
No.
It's a shame. But there's a frustration as well, isn't it, when you're trying to get your point across and you're like, no, I'm right. Like, you need to believe that my opinion. People get frustrated, and that's just human nature as well, isn't it? It's frustrating when someone doesn't
definitely.
You, but it's just
it's funny, because what happens in most of these situations is they might have some sort of point, but it might be a little bit out of context. So I'll explain I'll give an answer to what they say, and then if they don't have a comeback, or maybe it has made them thought, they'll normally just block without saying, oh, actually, I didn't think about that. And I will usually ask the people, I will say, just explain it to me then. And then it becomes, well, it's not my job to educate you. It's like,
it isn't. They're right. It's not. But if they're going to come out and say things like that, then surely that's what they're trying to get across. Yeah. They're trying to get to. It's very much like what I've had as well is, well, your opinion doesn't count because you're a man. It's like, well, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, of course, but like if you're going to immediately say that men's opinions don't count, yet it's a lot of men's opinions it's a lot of men
who need to be educated, which is it going to
Yeah.
be? Because
I see what you mean there.
Yeah,
I see what you mean there.
because-
you can't shut men down.
Yeah.
Because men, more than anything, need to be involved in this conversation.
Exactly. Because there are a lot of men, and I'm not afraid to say that there are a lot of men who need educating. But if you tell them, if you bark at them and say your opinion doesn't matter, why are they going to listen to you? They're not.
They're not. That's the thing, because the minute you hit out with that sort of reaction to someone, you're going to get somebody's back up.
Yeah.
You know yourself. Somebody's hit back and you're like, I don't want to listen to you anymore. Even if you're right, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. You know, it's hard to manage that. It really is hard to manage that. But that is exactly the way it is. You know, if someone gives you a bit of stick like that, you're not gonna listen. You're not gonna respect what their opinion is.
Do you think that?
But how do you sort that? How do you sort that out? Because today everybody's opinion is all over social media. Everybody's opinion's all over social media. So how do I try and manage it? I try and manage it and just try and just think. I know that sounds really daft, but just stop and think about it. Just think for a second before you let your emotions take over your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't sound daft at all, because
sometimes I've said something or I've lashed, and if I've had a heated conversation, and I've thought, I had so many things that I wanted to say that I could have done it calmer, I could have explained myself better, but because I got angry, it came out wrong, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So if everybody could just take a step back and think for a second before they react, or take a while. You don't need to respond right away, you know? You don't need to, you know, reflect. It's just, we're all very, I don't know.
That's what's interesting though, isn't it? That's what's interesting though, isn't it? Because you don't have to reply straight away on social media. You can have more of a considered sort of opinion, but then by the same token, is it more prolific now because these people who clearly want to state an opinion and shout it as loud as they can, but they want to retreat from any kind of debate? That wouldn't happen before that. If you were talking out in public or you were talking with friends, if you came across with a good point and they just shut up or couldn't reply or didn't say anything, well then it's embarrassing for them. It looks bad on them. But that doesn't happen on social media. It's just like that people are saying, oh well, they just got bored of the conversation or whatever. It's very interesting. It's very
but it
interesting.
is that way that you say, where it's like if you'd be embarrassed that you did say nothing, because there's obviously this kind of like ego thing, or you know, maybe not an ego thing, but
no, definitely, you know, I think so.
People are like picking up that you're not saying anything quick enough. Stupidity. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that built into us? Where you know, I thought you wouldn't say anything back. It's just like we don't give anybody time to think. Like, it's the same. That's how arguments happen and stuff, you know, because you just say something daft, or you lash out, you say something. Why is it like that? Why are we all?
Well, I think the reason it's around Twitch particularly is because of like what I said before about the dream job thing, and then we might not be competing with these individuals necessarily because our streams might be completely different and we might be completely different characters, but there's still that element of this is a job I want to do. And in some people's heads, and I've been passed screenshots of people saying, why has Joe been gifted so many subs? How come people are watching Joe? Why? Instead of what can I do to improve my own content? Because I know I've got many areas to improve, and I'm working on diversifying. I'm working on different projects. I'm working on new things all the time. Things all the time. And these people are wasting their time looking at everybody else.
That's the thing, because it's the worst mistake to make. You don't look at everybody else's stream to try and you're comparing. Look at your old VODs. Look at your stuff and look back and criticize your own work the way a new viewer would come in. The best way to do it. I do it all the time.
No,
I'll go on my VODs and I'll be like, I'm a new streamer. What's my reaction to how she is on camera? And I'll analyse myself.
Yeah, and it's a really good point as well, because this is one of the first things. The only thing I did before the stream was I made a very quick video about Starwing, or Star Fox as it was in America, for the SNES. Like, I just thought I'll record a video for practice, and I made it and I edited it and never released it. I'm saving it for one day, because it's bad. But in my head, on the camera, the first time I was in front of it, I thought I was being like really gesticulating, really sort of really quite loud and confident. And I watched it back and I thought, shit, that's not what I'm like in real life. I know that's not what I'm like in real life. And like you say, you look back on these things, and obviously it's always a learning curve, and you think it's not that you're trying to be something you're not, but it's like, I'm not doing either what I normally do, or I didn't consider something there, or I didn't say that in a way that actually I want to be.
Yep.
So what you say is, I think, is incredibly important, because how many people, you know, do watch their VODs back. And I found that my YouTube videos, and I like, they've never been the priority until more recently. They've started to become more of a priority, but I've known every time when I've edited them, like in the past especially, I could do better than this. I know that, and it's only through watching them and editing them.
Because that's the only way you'll know. You need to look at it. You need to look at it and see what can be worked on, and you can't do that by looking at someone else's stream. You can't do that. You know, you need to watch your own stuff. And I think there's something about where people don't actually like to watch themselves back either.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people have said, I'm not watching my old VODs. I can't watch myself stream. And you're like, wow! Like, if you actually went through like however long you've been streaming and never once look back on how your streams are.
People do it though. I don't understand how. Don't get me wrong. We know when you especially when you first do it, it isn't very comfortable to hear your own voice. But I mean, you got to put your big boy, big girl pants on, and just like, you got to do it, because it. And then after a while, it just becomes normal.
Like your volumes and things like that. It's They must just solely rely on chat telling them if it's wrong or right.
Yeah.
You know, they could stream for weeks and not know that there's like a sound in their mic that, you know, it's just it's baffling to me.
So, Louise, if you could give a new streamer any one single tip for streaming and becoming a successful streamer in whatever capacity that they saw that in, what tip would you give them?
I think the best tip that you could give anybody is just to be yourself on your stream. Don't worry if you are quiet. Don't worry if you're overly loud. Don't think about it. Don't think about the way you're coming across, because Twitch is huge. There's going to be somebody on there for everybody. So whether you're wanting to make yourself quieter or louder, it doesn't matter. There'll be people that will be getting off on your energy, and there'll be also people that want to lurk and watch like quieter streamers. I think you should always just set your ground and be yourself from the get-go, and just take it from there. So don't look at someone doing really well because they're bubbly and chatty.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, and your people will come. You know, you'll meet people who are like-minded like you eventually, because Twitch is huge. You know, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. And don't take anything too personally either. Have fun with it.
I absolutely concur with what Louise says. If you guys want to check out Louise, her link is in the description. She's Louise_LCX on Twitch. If you've played games and you've grown up playing games, then she'll probably play one of those games that you played when you were younger, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I played that game. So go check her out. Louise, thank you very much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
thank you so much for having me.
No, you're welcome. You're more than welcome. And I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.